We have a 2005 Chevy Trailblazer. We're going to go through the steps in replacing the fuel pump. We'll start by bleeding the pressure off the system using our pressure relief valve on our gauge. Be sure and capture the fuel into a safe container. Before beginning any repair, disconnect the negative battery cable. In order to do a proper fuel pump replacement, we need to clean the inside of the tank, and that will require the removal of the tank. At the rear of the tank, loosen the fuel filler hose. We'll remove this as we lower the tank. Disconnect the 3 emissions lines and the vent line. At the front of the tank, disconnect the emissions line and fuel line. Be sure and capture any residual fuel into a safe container. With the fuel tank properly supported, remove the frame brace and the tank straps. Partially lower the tank and remove the fuel filler from the filler tube. Disconnect the emissions electrical connector and the fuel electrical connections. It's a good idea to clean the outside of the tank before removing the module assembly. This will keep any excessive debris from getting in the tank. Disconnect the fuel and emissions lines. Remove the locking ring, turning it counterclockwise using a non-ferrous brass punch. Be sure and inspect the locking ring. Make sure it's not damaged in any way that would hinder its reuse. As you remove the module from the tank, keep in mind there will be some residual fuel in the module reservoir. Be sure and capture this into a safe container. At this point, we need to drain the remaining fuel into a safe container and then clean the inside of the tank. We want to be sure that the tank is as clean as possible to allow a clean environment for the fuel pump. With the inside of the tank thoroughly cleaned, we're ready to install the new Airtex fuel pump module. Install the new tank seal into its location on the top of the tank. As you lower the module into the tank, be sure and align the tab on the flange with the arrow on the tank. Reinstall the locking ring, turning it clockwise with a non-ferrous brass punch. Reconnect the fuel line and the emissions line. It's a good idea to put a light silicone lubricant on the emissions tube. This will keep the sealing O-ring from rolling in the fitting. A leak here could potentially cause a check engine light. With the tank raised into this position, start the fuel filler hose onto the filler tube and reconnect the electrical connections. Fully raise the tank into position and reinstall the tank straps and frame support. Tighten the fuel filler hose onto the filler tube and reconnect the emissions lines. At the front of the tank, reconnect the fuel line and emissions line. With the repair complete, reattach the negative battery cable. Cycle a key 2 to 3 times in order to charge the system. Start the vehicle and monitor fuel pressure, making sure it's within vehicle specification. Now before we remove our pressure gauge, we'll shut the vehicle off and bleed the pressure using our pressure gauge, making sure to capture any fuel into a safe container.